So, team, we are back with another great, beautiful episode of The Bridge. I'm Troy,
It's Troy and Mojy Show. What it do?
and we're going to be talking about code switching and elaborating on what we went over the last time. And really discussing and deciphering why people have to code switch, why we feel like we need to code switch, our language barriers that we may present towards each other, and everything that rolls underneath that as well. So, Mo, what do you think about code switching?
Well, I shared a great deal about code switching the last time, and my code switching has to do with where I come from, being Nigeria, me being in America. I feel like at the beginning when I first moved here, I had a really thick accent, which is it's how I speak where I come from. But
Mm-hmm.
being in America, I had to like adjust
Yeah,
and
so
sound, I guess more American for people to like understand me, because when I tell you the ignorance was massive.
yeah, and it's hilarious to me that the ignorance is massive, and we always feel like we need to sound like each other, but we try to be this big melting pot, right? We're supposed to be this big American melting pot of differences. So why we want everybody to sound like each other, and why we feel as blacks that we need to always sound like our opposition, and even separating ourselves from another is crazy. Like, I know what the heck you're saying whenever you talk. Maybe I have to, like you say, slow down a little bit more to
Right,
hear you a
right.
little clearer. And that's just things that I know going into our conversation that we know. And the same vice versa. It's not necessarily just on your side. Like, I need to slow down when I'm speaking to somebody else of a different race, religion, creed, just to make sure that they can understand and get everything that I'm
Right.
saying. So,
And even like one of the things that like really upset me, well, I guess used to get on my nerves, is like you see people from like other European countries, you see people from the UK. A lot of Americans can't really understand them because they talk funny,
mm-hmm.
like if you're from Scotland people, you know what I mean? But I'm not gonna say they don't sound right. They're speaking English, they're using the right vocabulary and everything. It's just the way certain words are being pronounced, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's funny how like we find those accents sexy.
Yeah, we find them sexy. Oh,
We
that
find,
French
oh,
accent is so
it's so
sexy.
sexy.
Oh, the Spanish
It's so
accent is so
great.
sexy. But as soon
But
as you hear your African heritage,
it's like,
or
okay,
it's like, oh, that's rough. That's
like I
ignorant.
don't, what are you saying?
And if you really think about it, it's all the real brown countries. Like if we
Right,
hear
right.
anybody from Iraq, Afghanistan, all of those brown speaking countries, and we hear them talk, people are always going to be like, oh, there's jokes made about it, but
Right.
you don't ever hear the jokes made about the European continents the European countries that have accents when they come to America, and those things right there, that type of propaganda again separates us. So now it makes me think that your accent is something that's ignorant as opposed to the French accent or the English accent that's supposed to be prestigious and all of these things. Well, Earth and everything that we know of was created in Africa, so that should be the
Right.
most prestigious accent. And you really, I mean, only reason that you should have to change is because you're in America and you speak the English language. That's the most dominant language in that country. But outside of that, embrace it. I feel like we should
and
all embrace it.
I feel like that also comes from African being looked at as a poor continent.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because there is poverty
Mm-hmm.
associated with that continent. Therefore, they don't. A lot of people or African Americans don't think they're educated people per se, or
Yep.
they can really amount to much, because all you see on TV is helping feed a child, so, and when they show those things, those people you're trying to feed are not necessarily speaking English. their,
Yep.
their languages are being translated, so a lot of people overseas don't think I mean English is being spoken in Africa.
And I think you
you
just
know
hit that right on the spot. And we spoke about it before the show actually came on, and that was thinking that because you have an African accent that you're you're incompetent almost to a degree, that you lack education, and it's
Right,
not
right,
it's
right.
not that at all. You know what I'm saying? It's the fact that, hey, I grew up in a different country. I have my native language. I have, other languages that I speak. 9 times out of 10, if you're coming from Africa or one of the countries in Africa, you speak multiple languages more than an
Right.
American does. So
Yep.
you're probably at a higher level of education when we think about it at that aspect. So it is the cast that we put on it, that these countries are poor, those people are poor, those people, if they're poor, they must be lower in education. So let's put them into this little box of ignorance and not just take them in and understand what they're doing and learn their languages. Hey, like, people seek out to learn all of these other countries' languages, but have you ever been here and heard somebody say that they want to learn one of the languages of an African nation? But you always hear people say, I want to learn Spanish, I want to learn French, I want to learn Italian, but nobody says that they want to learn any African language, and it's the richest continent in the world. So if you can get over there and learn the language and be able to talk and mingle with the people, there's so much prosperity to be had.
And I also think that has also messed up a lot of African in diaspora. It's messed up right now because a lot of them now don't want their children speaking their native languages because they think, okay, you need to speak this English, you need to have this accent, and if you can speak your own native language, it's probably gonna mess up with your American accent. And if you have an African accent, you're gonna be looked down upon. 100%. You're gonna be, you're not gonna get that kind of respect that you deserve. Therefore, they're preventing their children from speaking their language. I know a lot of Africans that their children or even people my age don't speak.
And it's something
African.
To be said about that.
You know what I mean?
It's something a lot to be said about that, because that is going to cause what? That's going to cause a lack in culture. That's going to cause a lack in history and knowledge based on that person's culture and everything that they come from, because now they're not feeling comfortable being their true to form self. And I feel like as America, as just people, human beings, we should embrace everybody being an individual, and that's how we get great things that come along. That's how we get a show like this that we're doing, is because you have an opinion on what you believe, I have an opinion on what we believe, and though they may be different, we can meet in a common ground and discuss them, right? And have that conversation.
I want to shock you, because we're talking about bridging the gap between Africans and the African Americans, and Africans are really proud people. Like Trevor Noah said when he was interviewing one of our artists from Nigeria, he said, look, Nigerians and humility, they don't mix, because we're very proud people. And the way we come, and then we see African Americans the way African Americans see Africans.
Yes.
Therefore, when we see African Americans, the way they talk, they feel like, okay, they're ignorant. You know what I mean?
100.
The way, especially the ones from down south.
100.
It's like, okay, you talk black. Talking black is also looked down upon. And no African parents or no Africans wants to necessarily sound black, which is causing a division. Like, it's so unnecessary.
It's unnecessary, and it's things that we need to put into our forefront. Absolutely. And identify them and make sure that you're not somebody that's definitely code switching. Let's stop code switching. Let's be ourselves. Let's be truly authentic, and let's get to know each other with all of our differences.
Like, there is no need for you to treat anyone differently just because they speak a little differently. It's the same English you're speaking, it's just the accent is what is different. And same to my Africans, just because somebody sounds black or from down south and sound like whatever, doesn't mean they're uneducated or ignorant. So let's just cut it out and just bridge the gap and let us be one family. And we hope to see you next time.
Boom.
Stay tuned. We're
Check
out.
us out.